Okay, what's happening? Another crazy video. I love mango juice. Mango juice, awesome. It's healthy for you, and will give you diabetes at the same time. No, I don't have diabetes, at least not yet. Let's talk about lens herpes. And this is something I never read about in any photography magazine. It's also something that burns my ass right into the dirt. And it's so important, and anybody that's interested in buying a lens needs to know it, but nobody talks about it. Even over on the boards, well, they might, somebody might. You got two different lenses, like say this is a 50mm f1.4 or 1.8. And then there's another lens that's a 50mm f1.2. And it's like, well, you know, I love that fast, creamy, and people look at the rear element, and it's just huge, and they go, oh my god, I gotta have that lens, and it's so expensive. Like, a step up from 50mm f1.4 to a 1.2, I'm not talking about 50mm specifically here, just as an example, is, you know, a serious step up price-wise. Now, here's where lenses lift their skirt. You know how like really fine wines are hand-selected from a vineyard, and they're picked at a certain time, and they avoid certain grapevines that don't look right. Cheap wine. I don't drink it all. Cheap wine. They just kind of mow it all down, take it all, mash it all up, and make wine. Well, this is where lenses lift their skirts up, and it is the case at basically f2, f3.5, and higher. All lenses, as long as they're made really well, are kind of made alike, because you're using the sweet spot of the lens, obviously so, depends on the lens construction. You're directing that light to the better part of the lens. What happens is instead of selecting the sweet spot, as apertures 3.5, 4, and up, f8, that's all relative. I mean, that's fine. It's like, okay, the lens was perfectly sharp. You'll hear this all the time on lens reviews. Oh, the lens was perfectly sharp and has great vignetting at like f4, f5.6 and above. Then you get some seriously expensive lenses, and they're just awful. They just suck ass at f2 and below, or like f1.8 and below. It depends on the lens. So you're sometimes, and it depends on the lens. You got 150mm f1.8, 150mm f1.2. It's like, oh my god, the front element, rear element of this thing's so huge, and like the depth of field is like, yeah, and I'd love to have that lens. Then you have to ask yourself, well, does that lens have herpes below f1.8? Because if the construction is not, this is where all lenses lift their skirt up and show you their venereal diseases. Because if the lens is just not perfect, then at those wider apertures, and you got that aperture open, and it's just using all of that glass, not just the sweet spot. The sweet spots in lens manufacturing, even blind slave labor in some unknown country can produce, sweet spots at like f4 and above. It is the superior adjusted, superior construction, superior design lenses that at those wide open apertures, even though they have a shallow depth of field, and either do or do not have bad vignetting and corner-to-corner sharpness issues, that's where they really lift their skirt up. And this is where you can get really hosed by buying a fast lens that ultimately is no damn better than the same lens for half the money that's only a couple stops slower. So then you have to ask yourself, well, I bought this really nice Zeiss lens, and Zeiss makes some dogs like this. Especially in their wider angle lenses, to be certain in their wider angle lenses. And it's like, well, I bought this lens and it's $600 more than the lens is 2 stops slower. And but I never use it below that because it sucks. It's like, well, great. So you just spent $600 on a couple extra stops of glass that you're never going to use. So why didn't you just buy, the other lens for f2? Well, I wanted this fast lens because when I look at that front element, it goes, oh yeah. And that's what people do. They look at the front element and the rear element, and they go, oh my god, that looks so good on my camera. That is so fast. Oh damn, I love that depth of field that's like about like that. And I never use that. Like if I take a portrait shot at f1.4, I'll like her tip of her nose will be in focus, or that part of her eye will be in focus, and it's like, yeah, that's really great. Do you do a lot of portrait shots where you got like, that much in focus? No. But when I look at the lens, I go, damn, that lens is awesome. And then you have to ask, well, does that lens have herpes? It's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, where lenses lift their skirts up and tell you whether they're crap or not is when they get fast. You know, it's kind of like I can take a Toyota and shove it up to like 130 miles an hour, but then that bitch just starts rattling and shaking. Whereas the Lamborghini, it starts to purr at 120 miles an hour. That reminds, I miss my old BMW, by the way. I had a BMW sports car. Man, that sucker would just fly. It was just smooth. The faster it went, the smoother it got. God, I mean, I would have been put in jail if they caught me, you know, doing 140 miles an hour down I-75, which I did more than a few times. Like, that car was fast. And that's where lenses show their, you know, lift their skirt up and show you whether they got herpes or not. So ultimately, you could be spending twice as much on a lens. It's like, oh my God, it's so awesome. Look at that huge element. It's like, yeah, but that lens sucks. What do you mean? It's really fast. Because it's fast doesn't mean it's any damn good. Oh my God, that makes such sense. Why didn't I think of that? It's because you had gear acquisition syndrome. You had gear slut. You're like drooling. Some people have like an erotic affection to like wide, fast glass. Oh my God, that lens is so fast. It's like, yeah, but it sucks at apertures below f2. So I think I made my point here. That's something that you need to think about to save your money. It might be a great lens, but you know, if it's only great at like f4 and higher, but below that it sucks, then you're wasting your money. Just get the same lens that's slower. Make sense? Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Okay, thank you so much. Catch you later. Bye.